2020. With the pandemic going on, I decided to check in on some motovloggers. Welcome to
the other time. I was like, the math checks out. $5,000 bike, maybe $1,000 a year, 2,000 on Uber Lyft, like way better than a 20 grand car, but have way more fun and still do everything. So it's really just like small errands that are a little bit more of a burden, or grocery shopping. But if I'm going out to drink, like, it's nice not to need my own, I'm not going to drive there. I'll take an Uber anyway. So it hasn't been a burden at all. But at the same time, winter is cold. So I'm looking at whether a car would be probably worthwhile at this point.
Well, isn't it like a requirement for Colorado? You got to have like a 4-wheel drive off-road Bronco or something. Isn't that like?
Oh yeah, Subarus are huge out here. So,
yeah.
You get your whole culture of that. And the mountains, like, you need all-wheel drive for sure. But the problem is there's so many transplants coming from Texas and Cali. They don't know how to drive in snow. So like every other car on the road is someone that doesn't know what the hell they're doing in the winter.
Yeah, that's all right. Then what you need is an old beater, like a Ford Excursion or something like that, so if you do run into the transplants, you won't feel it as much.
I like that idea.
Nice. So actually, I had a question for, I guess, everyone here. But I had been sort of gone from motovlogging for about 6 months, and really trying to get back and connect to a lot of channels I've subscribed to. But I've also noticed that a lot of people have dropped out. And have you noticed that too? And do you think that's because of the pandemic or other reasons?
Well, I know one guy, Burley, he was kind of in and out for a while, and then he just kind of disappeared. And somebody else I subscribed to, what's his name? Shifty 1050.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over in the UK. He had some really great content. I enjoyed watching his stuff.
Right.
And it just like completely fell off. So it's when that happens, you kind of wonder, did they get into a crash? Happen? Yeah. And you hope that nothing tragic happened to them, but it's kind of like, in real life, well, it's all real life, but kind of like in the real world, if you're riding with people and all of a sudden somebody doesn't show up, it's usually something significant happened. And it's not because, they just got bored. There's usually something significant going on, either health or some other reason. But no, I don't know. I don't think a lot of people, well, now some people did kind of shift their content because of the pandemic, because of lockdown. But as far as the channels and them dropping out completely, I don't think the pandemic would have been the end-all be-all. It seemed like a lot of people were able to adapt in some form or fashion. Maybe go into video games or cars or something.
Excuse me, bit of Corona.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you just keep it over there.
I've noticed so many channels sort of come up and be like really promising. I mean, like you see them through motovlog.com where they come in full of enthusiasm, and then it just disappears. It's like they just go, and you can't contact them. They close their accounts or Instagrams and stuff like that. I haven't really noticed any extras happening through the C19 stuff. Just it's almost like the usual flow of people doing it and then realizing it's not for them, I think, a lot of the time. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Well, Stephen was talking about, his channel, and both you and Hippo have similar content. One of the things that drew me to Hippo's channel was his tours of the castles. And I really got a kick out of that. But, he can tell you, I think he told me before, that it didn't draw a lot of audience. Yeah. And like with my channel, Stephen, I know that my biggest views are on bike reviews. Everything else, it's so. But, I love watching somebody show what's going on in their part of the world. It seems like the motovloggers are different than the regular motorcyclists. I don't know why. You don't see a bunch of them together. Now, maybe someplace like California and Texas, you'll see big turnouts, but around here, in Tennessee, I don't know about up in New Jersey if there's big turnouts, but It just doesn't seem to be a lot of people concentrated doing this.
Yeah, they're not a lot in New Jersey, and it being a small state, the ones that are here, you figure I would have met up with them, but I haven't even had a chance to do that. Maybe one day I hope to, but yeah, sometimes I wonder if there's a difference between, and I think that's a good point you made, like difference between motorcyclists and motovloggers. Like maybe motorcyclists like riding and motovloggers like to ride, if that makes any sense, and sort of communicate and share to everyone why they like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think why I like going to so many other people's channels, like Steve or Pete, you know, I get to see places I probably would get a chance to go to. I may have been like in Colorado's airport. That's my only claim to having been there, you know, and never really been beyond the, you know, continental United States. So seeing what's happening in the UK or in Europe or in Asia, it's just amazing. You know, and just seeing the way the roads are, which are always different, and how people ride, and whether they're out in the country or, you know, Pete, when I see you on those, like the green lanes and you're driving really fast, I'm like, oh my God, that's so crazy, because there's nothing like that in New Jersey. Yeah. And it seems like, oh, I do this every day. And I'm like, I'd love to do that every day.
I'd love to do dirt biking every day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, I got a question for you. What's your biggest, what type of videos get the biggest number of views on your channel? You know, because you have all kinds of stuff going on.
So I had a KTM 390 Duke for a while, and it was a problem child. I had nothing but issues with it. But the videos I made on that have been my most viewed over the whole channel.
Like your how-to videos?
Yeah, well, like fitting the exhaust pipes and stuff like that. And I was ham-fisted, I did them wrong, and there was nothing professional in how I did it, including the filming. So it's amazing that anyone even watches them, but they keep getting views. And I think it's because that particular bike was a good bike choice for growing a channel. I stupidly got rid of it before I kind of realized that. But yeah, I mean, it's a really popular bike in India because it's made there. And also because of its size, it's actually kind of at the top of the tier of the sort of motorbikes that people out there can afford and lust after and want to own. So it's an incredibly popular motorcycle out there. And the fact that it's got a 125, 200, 250 variant of the same bike, it means that that sort of video appeals to a large audience in a large country where there's a lot of audience, if that makes sense. And also it appeals to the A2 riders over in the UK, so the guys on the in-between license, so they can't ride a full power bike, but they can ride a bike like the KTM 390. So yeah, those ones do great, but my upcoming videos, the ones that I think will surpass them, are things like my Insta360 stuff. They've been doing very well. I consistently getting almost 100 views a day on some of those videos, which is, as far as I'm concerned, my size of channel is fantastic, and they're propping my channel up basically. All that radio control car stuff I did, I really wish I'd not bothered. The amount of time it took me to edit them to have 100 people look at them, and I know why. It's because they're not good videos. they're good videos if someone wants to see you build a radio controlled car, but not many people actually want to do that, and people will always watch a time lapse rather than a real time if they can on something that's going to take 16 hours to build or whatever it is. So yeah, my worst ones I think are the radio control car ones. My most viewed are the how-tos, and my longest retention is normally on the castle-y type things. So I don't get many views on the castles, but people watch for a long time. Whereas the not reviews, but the how-to stuff, I get a lot of views on them, but I'm guessing a lot of people switch off halfway through because they get bored of me.
What about you, Steven? What do you find with your channel just starting out? What do you see as your biggest draw so far, view-wise?
Yeah, so just to back up with kind of my approach, I have 2 series that I focus on. One on the neighborhoods of kind of the Front Range east of the mountains. So I'm dissecting every neighborhood, which means every neighborhood's very different. Some are very interesting, some aren't. And then I have the Rocky Mountain series that I release on a different day, which is only mountain towns or mountain roads in the Rockies. And it's very clear that even just based off title or thumbnail, that the Rocky Mountain videos are more interesting, right? That's what people want to see. Only a very small subset care about the Chaffee Park neighborhood of 4,000 people in Northwest Denver. But if you say there's a really cool train that goes over the road in Georgetown, and it's a very well-known tourist destination, that's my best video by and far, whether it's likes, comments, views, everything. And then I just started a review for the airbag vest that I wear, and that one's got the longest watch time out of all videos. It's like, if you're going to click on that video, either I did a good job of keeping people engaged, or it's just the only reason you click that video is because that's what you want to learn about. While my other videos, it's like, okay, I only care about one part of this 8-minute video, right? I want to see the water wheel in Idaho Springs. I don't give a shit about the ride there. So that's part of the dilemma too, is like the mention of a castle video is very clear what it is. Some of mine are like, here's a generic list of things all put together. So yeah, I think I'm still trying to figure out if I need to be more granular, which would get better engagement, and kind of how to focus in every video. So maybe even break videos down into 2 or 3 instead, I think could help.
What about you, Lowell? What's your biggest draw?
I honestly don't know, which is weird, because I will make a video and I think, oh, this is great, and hardly anyone watches it.
Yeah.
And I'll make another video and I thought, okay, this is something different, and everyone watches it. So I think I have one where I went to a prison, and I'm up to like 600 views on it. And I wasn't allowed to go in the prison because of the regulations. It's just my ride going there and talking about it. But I was really, really surprised. And and I think like a lot of the how-to videos. So I did a series of me riding from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, and so how to ride a scooter on the freeway. And I think that's just typical for YouTube. You put like how-to as your title for anything, and you'll get views. It could be like, I don't know, how to play tic-tac-toe, and you'll get 100 views or 1,000 views or whatever the case might be.
Who was that? Somebody had a channel that was spoofing how-to videos, and like one of the most viewed ones was how to touch an apple to a wall, and it was like 30 seconds, and it was just like people were just going nuts over it.
Right.
How to. But
Yeah.
it seems like out of the 3 channels you guys have, it is how to and it is travel. And how to, people watch a segment, but travel, they watch more of the length of the video. And so,
right.
It seems like YouTube kind of likes a channel that has a mix as far as the way they promote it or put it out to other people. Because if it's always the same, then it seems like the logarithm doesn't rank you as high. But if there's a mix in there, then the logarithm's always trying to reevaluate your channel.
Yeah.
Does that kind of make sense?
What I found really awesome was putting in those rubbish RC car videos. It made all my other stats look brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows, at some point, some kids or something may hit on your channel and be
they demonetized and they'll turn off comments.
Speaking of comments, do you guys moderate your comments, or you Pete lets it go, huh?
If someone takes the time to comment, even if they're like just being pissy, they've taken the time. I'm fine with that. I mean, if they're getting all ragey or being I don't know, bigoted about anything or something like that, then they can go do one, and I'll delete them and block them. But I'll let everyone comment. It's just easier if everyone comments. Then I go through it when I'm having a quiet moment at work or when I'm here at home. I can then work my way through them, respond to everything, and if they are an idiot, then it depends how much of an idiot they are as to whether I'll keep it there. But I always comment and do the heart thing on all the good comments, because then they're getting 2 positives from that, a like and a heart and a comment. So there's 3 things from that one person's post. But if it's someone that is just making an idiot response, I'll probably give them a like so that they know that I've watched it and or read it. And I might even give them a comment back. But because I'm not giving them the heart, they're going to go drop down the list and hopefully disappear.
I think if you hit the like, it doesn't say who likes it. It just says like. If you hit the heart, it'll say, Hippo. Whatever.
But it's only more so because they can do the heart thing on them. So yeah.
I think I've been lucky. I haven't gotten any like bad comments. I think I've gotten a couple of dislikes, but no one has said like, don't quit your day job or
The thing is, you make your videos quite beautiful. You put a lot of effort into the sort of cinematography of them. Are you familiar with the member Webb on Motovlog.com? Again, like yourself, he's an Oz guy, and he puts a lot of effort into the cinematography of his shots. He's very modest as well. I mean, I don't know what background he's got, but he's definitely got some skills with putting some videos together. And similar to yourself, you can see the effort that you put into yours, and you go into the extra effort because you've got 360 cameras, and you're having to do all. It's really difficult to edit 360 cameras in line with how you're speaking, isn't it? Because if you're narrating something, you can't hear that at the time you're editing the 360 stuff, so you don't know what you're talking about when you're editing the 360. It's quite difficult. So the fact that you get a decent you manage to capture the things that you're talking about when you're doing it. I think that's brilliant, because I can't do it. When I'm editing my 360 stuff, sometimes I've got the camera looking over there when I'm talking about something that's over there, and no one knows what the hell I'm on about. So I'm like, I'll have to bin that bit.
The only way I can do it is I have to make a log of like maybe the camera on my helmet, and I'll look at the timeline and log it. And then if my 360 is somewhat sync to that, then they're relatively the same amount. Or I'll think like, I'm talking about this and I'm talking about it for 5 seconds. So I'll find something on the 360 that's 5 seconds related to what I'm talking to, and I try and have it point to that way. And I'll just download that part and try and edit in. But it is super hard.
That explains why you keep hold of all your footage, because then you can revisit it all and re-edit it and stuff to make it work with what you're actually trying to tell the audience.
Right.
I got a question for Lowell.
Sure.
You're like the subject matter expert. The HEVC format, like the Hero 8, the Max, for the high resolution stuff. Why is it such a pain with a lot of the editing software?
I think it's because it's somewhat fairly new, so it's not as widely or universally recognized.
Yeah.
And so I think we're like a little niche group of people doing this, and the big league editing programs are like, what's this? No.
Yeah. They're all like 264. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
I've just had to upgrade my editing software. I was using Filmora Wondershare. I think I was on version 8 or whatever it was. And I've been using it for years, and it done me well. And I was used to it, and I could do what I needed to do on it. But since getting the 360 cameras and this latest generation of GoPros, where the latest generation of GoPros are recording 1080 at 60 megabits per second. Mm-hmm. And that's like almost the max that my old editing software could work with. But I've upgraded to their 9, the Filmora 9, and that allows me to go over 100 megabits per second, which is great, because the 360 stuff like the Insta360 One X, that's recording out 100 megabits per second. And they also recommend when you're editing that into a fixed window stuff, a directed stuff, that you go with the highest bit rate that you can with that. So even my 1080 stuff, I'm rendering at 100 megabits per second from the 360 cameras. And that really is making my PC get a sweat on.
Yeah. What about you, Stephen? What software are you using?
Yeah, so I have a Mac, so I use Final Cut Pro. And
one of those.
Yeah, Mac people, they pretty much conquered the world as far as editing goes. I remember watching Mitch Bergma talk about, I don't know anything about the PC, but on Mac you can do this, this, and this. And
yeah, it's treated me well. It's funny, I only got into Macs because of work. I'm a software engineer during the daytime, and so I got a personal Mac, and Final Cut Pro being native to it seemed to make sense over Premiere Pro, which is probably what I would have used otherwise. But there's also a compressor app that can be bundled in with it, which is cool because you set presets to export and everything. So yeah, I was playing around with kind of the codecs and the data rate and all that stuff, because I know like one of the main tricks with YouTube was to just get that VPC9 codec that YouTube encodes with. So I was like, okay, let me figure out how to optimize for that. And then YouTube has their recommendations of bit rate and everything. So I was less concerned with what I needed to pump out of Final Cut Pro and more about what would maximize what YouTube would do with it. So the computer will definitely chew a lot if I'm layering a bunch of stuff. Like I have drone footage that I add in and everything. But if I let it render, it handles it fine because it's also a 32 gig machine. So I tried to spec it out as best as I could for editing.
You're recording in 2.7 as well, aren't you?
Yeah, 2.7 by 60. And so that seems to work well. I played around with some 4K, but it just didn't seem worthwhile. And I can't do super view with the front facing. So yeah, 2.7K, which is also the limit on my little drone. So all three cameras I have are matching in quality as a result of that.
What drone are you using?
Yeah, for the Mavic Mini. I don't know how long it is now, probably 6 months since it was released, I think winter. And it's like a $400 entry-level drone. It's my first one. It's definitely, you don't see too many motovloggers throwing in drone footage. So something I wanted to do since I'm location focused. I'd highly recommend it overall. It's like throwing in my backpack, which is perfect for us. And then, ride to the mountains and park somewhere and whip it out, fly it up. And obviously there's a lot of drone places you can't fly it, but I can be pretty discreet and get away with it. So there's kind of a fine line of, using it. But I'd say it's been a nice addition to the channel.